This is how you launch a sale with email marketing. My name's Gavin. I run an email and SMS marketing agency specializing in helping direct-to-consumer brands increase their AOV, LTV, and just overall revenue through the use of email and SMS marketing. I've helped over 100 clients across a bunch of different industries, so I'm absolutely qualified to talk about what I'm talking about. Today, I'm going to show you a strategy that we use when our clients want to run a sale. In this document, which you have a link to if you look in the video description down below, I'm going to go over exactly every single segment that we create before launching a sale, the unique pop-up form strategy that we use during the sale, and also the cadence at which we send emails out and the key messaging we try and include within those emails. And at the very end, I'm also going to go over how to analyze the data, look at the reports, and actually figure out how successful your campaign was. Now, I want to say straight off the bat, this strategy it's unique in how it approaches the segmentation and how you leverage giving discounts. Now, I want to say this is not specifically for Black Friday. If you are looking at running a Black Friday sale, you can use this strategy, but I haven't advised around dates. My one tip for Black Friday is really to just go early. Run the sale as early as possible, probably even in October, have a Black Friday sale, just because you don't want to have to be competing with these brands with bigger budgets, healthier margins, better ad spend when it comes to competing in the inbox. Instead, you can just beat them by being earlier to the sale. And I can explain that a little bit more in depth over a call if you guys want, but let's get into this. Now, straight off the bat, how we segment our audience. With this sales strategy, we're actually going to be giving different discounts to different segments based on their purchase history. Why do we do this? We're going to give discounts, higher discounts, to people who have placed less orders with our business, and we're going to give lower discounts to people who have placed more orders with our business. Now, I know that probably seems a little bit counterintuitive, right? Like, shouldn't we be rewarding people who have demonstrated loyalty to our brand? And the answer is yes, but I'd recommend doing it differently and outside of a specific sale. Here's the thing. People who have placed an order before are significantly more likely to place an order again in the future, meaning they need less of an incentive to place that second, third, or fourth, or fifth order. And so the reality is they need less convincing, i.e. less of a discount, to make that same purchase that somebody who has never placed an order and perhaps needs a 30% off discount code does. So as a business, if I'm running a sale, I want to run a sale that gives me the highest revenue with the healthiest margins possible. And you'll find somebody who's already placed an order before doesn't need a 30% discount. In fact, they might only need like a 20% discount. And so you want to segment your audience to ensure that you're convincing the exact same amount of people, but giving them just the right incentive to ensure that you're getting the best margins and the most revenue. For example, why would I give somebody who's placed an order before a 30% off discount if they only needed a 20% off discount to make that same purchase? I've just compromised 10% of my margin to get a sale, and it would have happened anyway. So how I've segmented and how we approach our sales strategy with segmentation from campaigns is we segment people by this. Non-purchasers, we're going to call these guys segment 1. And if you look in the document, there's an explanation as to the definition. And this is just anybody who has never placed an order before and is subscribed to email marketing. And this segment here, we're going to give them our best discount when we get over to the campaign side of things. We'll talk about those just over here. Now, this segment here, we're going to give our biggest discount because they've never ordered before. They need a bit more help. They need a bit more of a push. Segment 2 is people who've purchased before. These people we're going to give less of a discount. I've actually included placeholders in terms of the discounts that we're going to be giving you can play around a little bit with this, right? You can segment your audience into 3 bulks. I've segmented it, I believe, into 4 key ones when it comes to the sale. It's really up to you. But as you can see here, the more engaged and the more purchasing the customer has done with our brand, the less of a discount we give them, right? Discount 3 is 20% off, and this is going to be going to everybody who's placed an order that equals 2 overall time and can receive email marketing. If we go down, discount 4, which is 15%. So we've actually halved the discount we're giving compared to people who've purchased, compared to people who've never purchased before. Discount 4 is 15%, and this is anyone who's placed an order at least 3 times overall time and can receive email marketing. Really important note, you'll notice we're using the term at least 3 times instead of equals 3 times, because this biggest discount is going to be for anybody who's placed an order at least 3 or more times. These other segments here are equals 2 overall time. So it's an exact match, right? Because we want them to be 2 exactly. We don't want them to be at least 3, because then they would be in this segment and potentially in this segment as well. We want to prevent that crossover. So these are the segments here that we're going to be using when we're actually sending our sale emails. Segment 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you look in the document here, I've given you explanations as to why we're targeting these segments, the conditions that we're going to use, as well as the discounts that we're going to be giving, right? Now, if we move down a little bit more, we have these 2 segments here. Engaged 90 days, which is anybody who I define as being engaged. And personally, I define this as anybody who's opened, clicked, or placed an order, or been active on site in the last 90 days, or subscribed to email marketing in the last 30 days, and can receive email marketing because they're subscribed. That's how I define engaged. We're going to be sending warm-up emails to this segment, kind of building a little bit of hype around the specific sale. You'll see that a little bit further on when we get to the actual campaigns themselves. So, also, just so you know, there's a screenshot of the segmentation that we use. In case you guys get lost, you can see exactly the conditions that we're using here. So feel free to use that and replicate this. You can literally take this exact same document and strategy and apply it yourself. I've got a bunch of other strategies that I use for different products, different launches, different types of emails, but for this one, sales, feel free to use this. Then we have segment 6, engage 90 days and didn't place an order during the sales. This segment will make sense when we get to our campaign side of things, but essentially this is going to be a segment of people who are engaged and have not placed an order during our sale period, and we're going to send a follow-up campaign specifically to this segment later on, and we're going to be giving them a 30% discount. Once again, I'm going to explain that a little bit, but just note you need to have this segment here, but you also need to have placed order 0 times between insert the start of the sale date and the end of the sale date. That way you'll know that somebody's engaged, but they didn't place an order with any of the incentives that we gave them right here. And you'll see in the campaign strategy, but we're going to send a sale extension campaign to this particular segment later on. So those are the segments that you're going to need for your campaign strategy. I'm going to run you through in a bit later the campaigns that we're going to be sending to each of these segments, but it's just really important to note that these are the segments that you're going to be using to send campaigns, build hype, and give discounts to. Feel free to pause the video, review the document, and create those segments yourself, and just see exactly, what you're going to have to be including, what people are going to be included in that segment. And once again, feel free to pay around, right? Like 30% might be too big of a discount for your business. So compromise a little bit. Go 20%, 17.5, 15, 10. You can play around. This is not a hard and fast rule. And also you might notice that your purchase, or rather your product, might not have a high repeat order rate just by the nature of the product itself. So you might need to adjust how you're defining these people, right? Perhaps 3 orders overall time is almost impossible. For example, you're probably not doing email marketing, e-commerce email marketing if you're selling cars, but odds are you're not going to get people who've purchased more than 3 cars over, a 10-year period. So you want to adjust how you're defining that kind of segmentation according to your business. There's an explanation for every single thing in that document. Now, moving on. Also, just a really quick important note, the campaigns are going to be staggered over a period of time, which means when you're sending these emails, people are going to be moving from segment to segment. And so there's a really important, when you send the campaigns, we're going to have a really important condition, which is determine recipients at send time, and we're going to uncheck that and check that for certain emails. For example, at the start of the sale, somebody could be receiving a 10% off discount. But then they place an order during the sale, and then all of a sudden the follow-up emails that they get start displaying a 5% off discount because they've changed criteria for the sale, right? Like, okay, segment 1 is never placed an order, segment 2 is placed an order equals 2 overall time. All of a sudden, they've moved from segment 1 to segment 2. And so it's really important in Klaviyo that you untick the determine recipients at send time option when you are scheduling your emails. I'm going to show you exactly what emails you want to do that with. Now, moving on, the pop-up forms. People think of pop-up forms way too narrowly. Pop-up forms can be used to capture email consent, obviously, but they can also be used for a bunch of other reasons. And one of the reasons that I really like to use them for is to remind people of sales. In this case, the sale that we're running. And you can actually create pop-ups that target specific people in specific segments, right? Or lists. In the case of our strategy here, we are going to be targeting people who are in these segments and converting these segments into lists and then going after those lists with these pop-up forms. I know that probably sounds a little bit confusing, but I'm going to explain it in a second, okay? As you can see here, these discount, or rather pop-ups, ignore the copy. This is all super placeholder text. It's just generic stuff that we created for the purpose of this document. We have use your code XYZ for 30% off. We're going to have these forms display as flyouts targeting people who are in that 30% off segment, right, which is this one here, after a 20-second delay, making sure it's a flyout and not having it show again after 5 days. Feel free to pause this, look at this segment, or pause this, create your forms, and have them target each of these segments accordingly. Now, one really important note, I say segments, what I'm actually meaning is lists. Because remember what I mentioned before? People can jump between segments because segments are dynamic. You want to make sure these are static. So at the start of your sale, before you send your sale announcement email, you're going to do the following. You're going to click each one of your segments that you created. This is really important, okay? So feel free to rewatch this a few times. You're going to click each one of the segments that you've created, segment 1, 2, 3, and 4, that are giving discounts. Note, not your engaged and your engaged 90 days, okay? And you're going to want to clone these segments. Clone them. This is how you do it in Klaviyo. Here's your segment, engaged 90 days. Obviously, let's just assume this was like segment 1. Segment 1. And you're going to hit update segment for the naming purposes. And then in the right-hand corner, you're going to hit clone segment. Okay? It's going to take you here, change the name obviously, hit clone segment. And then it's going to load, and then you're going to hit the cloned segment, convert it to a list. The reason we do that is because we want these forms to send consistent messages, right? If someone is getting sale emails that tell them they're getting 30% off, we don't want them jumping from segment to segment and getting inconsistent messaging. By having it turn into a list, we ensure that the segment is now static at the time that it was converted to a list. So no one's going to change from segment to segment if it's a list, right? It's static, meaning when these pop-up forms show up, they're going to target that specific list and ensure there's consistent messaging. And you'll notice it says segment 1, non-purchasers. That's assuming you've changed the name. You hit convert list, right? It's assuming you've changed the name, and it's a list. Ensure you are targeting the list, not the segment. Very, very important. And then what these will do is they will remind people of the discount codes they've had. Really important as well that you're using static discount codes. I like to use static ones in this case. Make sure there's no limit on how long they can be used. And also ensure when they click the button here, it auto applies the discount at cart. There's an instruction on how to do that right here in this section here. So those are our forms. Now just a bit of logic why we have it as 20 seconds and flyout. Flyout is a little bit less obtrusive, and we're not actually trying to get in people's faces. We're just trying to provide subtle reminders. And so a flyout, for those of you who don't know, is instead of a pop-up coming right in your face, it's a flyout that comes out from the bottom corner of the screen. You can choose this corner. I just prefer to use the right-hand corner. And 20 seconds just gives somebody a little bit of time to click the email, go to the website, and then have a bit of an experience of the website, and then get reminded of their discount. So that's the logic there. These discount codes are great at reminding people of the offer that you have, and also really, really, really important that in here you have the CTA, the call to action, link people directly to their coupon codes. Just have it be an auto-apply coupon code at discount. You should be doing that within your emails anyway. Once again, guide is right there, and you should also have a desktop and a mobile separate when it comes to pop-up forms. Don't use the same form. Have them be separate, okay? People interact differently with your forms, and these will display differently based on the device that people are browsing on. Cool. So that's your sign-up forms. So now you have your segments, and you have your sign-up forms ready to go. Sign-up forms targeting lists, by the way, not segments. So, boom, that's that. These are going to display based off of people being in one of those groups, in those cohorts right there. Now, the campaigns themselves. I haven't specified dates here just because if this is a sale, it's whenever, right? But if it's a Black Friday thing, if it's a Black Friday sale, just work backwards a little bit, and I recommend actually going a little bit earlier. Having the sale start perhaps in the first week of November just to beat out the rest of the competition. Pick a date and then work backwards. Now, sales like Black Friday, yeah, the earlier you start, the better. If you're running a regular sale, I recommend working backwards using the timeline below. You do not want inconsistencies between the website and the emails though. So this is assuming that this sale is specifically for email users, because you don't want to have like a big banner on your website saying 20% off, and then in reality you start running the sale and the campaign say 25 or 15% off. You want to have consistency across the board, and if you're doing dynamic segmentation like this, giving different people different discounts, you need to be aware that you can't have a static message on your website like that unless you're able to create dynamic banners that target specific segments and give them their specific discounts. So 2 weeks before your sale goes live, you're actually going to be segmenting, or rather targeting, your engaged 90 days segment. Remember, that's this segment right here. This one right here, engaged 90 days. This is where you're going to be building hype, right? I prefer to go 2 weeks ahead of time, because any longer, I think it actually just hampers sales. It causes people to hold out a little bit longer, not want to spend money, and any shorter, I don't think really gives you enough time to build hype. So in this email, really, you're just going to be talking about, hey, we've got a sale coming soon. Mark your calendars for this specific day. Don't really have like a call to action, perhaps even include like reviews or anything like that. You'll notice in this email here, this is just a generic one that we created for a generic brand. We do not work with this brand. We've also our sale kicks off on this date. Copy's not great. We're just creating like a blank template here. But this is kind of what you want your email to look like. Basic, just announcing the sale's coming soon. And then 1 week before the sale, exact same segment, engage 90 days. You're going to want to send an additional follow-up email with a countdown timer. I love using Send Trick, which you can see down here. I've actually included a link to it. Right here. To build these timers. Timers are great at just like building urgency, building hype. So in this email here, you're going to be like, hey, our email's coming out soon, our sale's coming out soon, mark your calendars, here it comes, here's the timer, build hype, right? You can even do another one if you really wanted, but being like 24 hours before. I don't really see the need to, but 1 week before, absolutely. Then the day of the sale. This is where you're going to start using those segments that we've created earlier and giving people their discounts, but giving people different discounts based on the segment that they're in. This email, you do not want, or rather this email, you do not want to schedule it out, right? You do not want to schedule this email out more than 1 day in advance because you want to ensure that everyone in this segment meets the conditions, right? So in this case, day of sale, we're giving people a 15% off discount code. I like using a static discount code, and we want to ensure that everybody in that segment has met the conditions to receive the 15% off discount code, which is segment 4. And when you send it, you need to ensure that it's the most relevant, right? So send the email. Don't schedule it out more than 1 day in advance because people will be jumping between segments, right? Cool. So that's that. Then, exact same thing, 15% off, 20% off, 25% off, 30% off, giving it to each one of these segments, right? You're going to notice the bulk of your revenue is probably going to come from these 2 segments here, 20% and 25% off. 15%, there's not going to be a whole lot of people in that segment. It will do numbers. This segment here is going to have a bunch of people who just aren't that engaged, just by the nature of it, which is why you'll notice, for the sake of deliverability, we actually don't send a follow-up email to this segment here, which is the 3 days after the sale starts. This segment here, you can actually schedule these emails out the moment you send the sale email here, and you want to go ahead and untick in Klaviyo, determine recipients at send time. Okay, so right here, determine recipients at send time, you want to ensure that this is unticked because you want the conditions to be set right when you send the email. Okay, so here's the thing. You send this email here, this is going to drive a bunch of sales, which means people are going to be moving in between segments, right? But you want them to receive the same email talking about the discount code they had. For example, 4 days left, 20% off. You don't want somebody jumping from this segment to this segment, right? So by unticking determine recipients at send time, when you schedule this email out immediately after you send this email out, so the moment you send these emails out, you schedule these emails out to come 3 days after the sale starts, you're not going to have anybody jumping from segment to segment, meaning your messaging is going to be consistent, just like it is with these sign-up forms. Final day of sale, exact same thing. Ensure that determine recipients at send time is unticked. Ensure that it's unticked and schedule this email out the moment you send this email out here. Exact same, right? And you'll notice here, we actually have the segment 4 here, final day of sale, right? 30% off, targeting segment 1. The 4th email is targeting segment 1. And the reason we have this one is because this email is not going to get a whole lot of engagement, just like this one, but we want to maintain our email deliverability, which is why we knocked it out here, okay? And then, after that, day after the sale, in this email, we're going to target anyone who is engaged to maintain deliverability and those who have not placed an order during the sale. This is going to segment 6, engaged 60 days and didn't place an order during the sales. This segment here is going to get your biggest discount, right? These are people who, even though we gave them our offers here, they never placed an order and we just want to bump them in again, right? With our biggest discount possible. So the discount that we were giving this segment over here, we want to give these people the highest discount because they never placed an order during the sale, and we want to get those sales across the line, assuming your margins permit. So this segment here, engaged 60 days and didn't place an order during the sale. This email can be scheduled out ahead of time. Just make sure you tick determine recipients at send time, so tick it. Unlike these ones here where you untick it. Make sure you tick it in this one so that we are determining the recipients at send time. And that email here is going to be a follow-up announcement email, being like, hey, we extended our sale by 24 hours, or whatever you really want to do, right? Once again, ignore some of the little typos here. I just whipped these up for the purpose of this example. have a countdown timer in there, right? Give them the discount code. And then that's your sale. That is your sale. And then when you want to go get your reporting, right, you're going to notice that you've probably generated similar revenue, if not a little bit more, to a previous sale that you've done, but the quality of that revenue, the profit in that revenue is significantly different. It's at a higher margin, okay? If you want to run a growth report, just click this link here. It'll allow you to create a growth report, which is a really in-depth monthly report that you can run for your account and just gives you deep analytics into what's happened from a campaign perspective, the deliverability, and the sales that you've made. The revenue, some of you may be looking at this campaign and the cadence think, hey, there's nothing out of the ordinary here. What separates this campaign from regular campaigns is the segmentation strategy that we have and the sign-up form use that we're doing. Guys, I hope that makes sense. I've also included a section just down here that has links to every single software that we use for email marketing. Highly recommend you check that out. And if you do want to get in touch with me, or if you want access to every single automation I recommend you have, which is right here. So it's a really in-depth, deep dive into every single automation. Or if you just want to get some inspiration, sign up form and email templates right here, just click those two buttons. It'll take you to a Stripe link. I ask for like a pretty low fee for what this stuff is. Go ahead and get stuck into those. I hope this made sense. I know this is quite complex. You might have to watch this video a few times, but this strategy works really well. It generates revenue and it generates profitable revenue, which a lot of email marketing agencies don't focus on. They just focus on the number, right? Not the margin. But if a business owner, as a business owner, you should be concerned about the margin that you're making. Most agencies don't care about that. We do. So follow this strategy. Let me know how it works and let me know if you have any questions.